Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather, and on this channel we like to walk a very fine line between a shopping addicted makeup monster and a responsible adult with a makeup hobby. Now, I really enjoy eyeshadow singles, duochromes, multichromes, blush, highlight, lip gloss, basically everything except pressed glitter. And today I wanted to show you about 10 palettes from my collection that are from brands that kind of fell off, but I still love these palettes. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick with me. We're getting into it right now. So these are going to be in no particular order, but the first one I wanted to talk about is the I Heart Revolution Black Pearl palette. Now, I Heart Revolution, of course, they put out stuff at the rate of ColourPop, but so does Makeup Revolution, Revolution Pro, the somehow recycled biodegradable version of Makeup Revolution. I don't know, there's way too many to count. But this one, I thought it was such a cute little palette. It's one of the first cool tone palettes I ever got in my collection, and I loved this like kind of smoky lavender shade as well. I do think it has really, really beautiful color payoff, and the metallics in here are no joke. So even though Makeup Revolution is kind of like a mer brand, this palette slaps. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with my hair. We're just not going to talk about it. Moving on. The next one is Dominique Cosmetics, and I feel like back in like 2017, 2018, 2019, that's when I really remember this brand being like more popular, and this was like a cult favorite for everybody. And of course I was like, I have to pick it up because I love these kind of like burgundy berry tones. And then I got the palette and I'm kind of like, this isn't as like burgundy and berry as I thought it was gonna be, because you basically have like these two that are burgundy shades and everything else is like neutrals, and then you have one metallic. I do still think this is pretty. I love this sugar cookie shade. It's so pretty on the lid. But I feel like this brand kind of fell off after that. Like, they've done some blushes and stuff, but none of the palettes that they've put out have really like wowed me. So this one had to be included on the list. Next up, this was the actual like inspiration for this particular video, and this was the Violet Voss Sugar Crystals palette. I was watching a video, I want to say it was Steph's Beauty Stash, and she was talking about spring palettes and mentioned the Violet Voss Butterfly palette, which I was like, oh, that's really pretty. And then I started thinking like, well, that brand kind of fell off in a major way, and then I realized like it did, but there's still some stuff that I love, and that gave me the idea then to pull the rest of these palettes. But this palette is beautiful. It's one of my favorite rainbow palettes. I love that you have this like iridescent row here. You've got this more like medium based metallic, and then you've got these really beautiful punchy kind of neon shades. I think this is such a gorgeous color story. Every look that I've put together with this I have really loved. So for me, even though this is like an older palette from a brand that nobody really talks about, I think it's a banger. You guys see my sports bra? I'm too lazy to go change it. Alright, next up is the Pinky Rose Cosmetics Exotic Peacock palette. This I had my eye on for ages, and then I want to say about 2 years ago around Christmas time they had a 50% off for the bundle of all 3 palettes from this collection, and I went ahead and purchased them, and I was so happy I did. This though is my favorite from the trio, and I just really love all the depth, all the beautiful like green, blue, purple. That is always going to be an attraction to me. These 2 shimmers here are super like sparkly, and I love that so much. But I don't feel like anybody talks about this brand anymore. Like, I feel like it's just kind of gone radio silent. I don't even know if they've released anything recently. I think the last thing that I heard from them was it last January, like 2022, they released some kind of palette, like a tribute to their mom or something. But I don't think I've seen anything since then. So I feel like they definitely meet the criteria for this list. The next one is Hip Dot, and Hip Dot did a Girl Scouts collection, which I used to be a Girl Scout. These are my favorite cookies out of all the cookies right here. You guys are going to have to let me know in a comment, do you call them Caramel Delights or Samoas? Because that is like, all through my Girl Scout years, it was Caramel Delights. Everybody before me and after me calls them Samoas, and I'm like, why? Anyway, so they had this palette, which is this beautiful like fuchsia and gray kind of color story, which I think is really pretty. But I think Hip Dot kind of lost their identity as a brand, and now they're just this like random collab brand, and they're kind of a laughing stock, if you will. Like, people make fun of this brand. They've got like ramen noodle collabs, hot sauce collabs. Like these are not normal collabs at all. Alright, so I think I got cut off a little bit by my battery dying, but basically I was saying that this has become this kind of like joke of a collab brand, and they're not really taken seriously the way they were when they first came out. Next up is Midas Cosmetics and Smoky Glow, this palette right here. And I think the reason why nobody talks about it anymore is because this brand doesn't exist anymore. Now they have that Midas with a Y. But I haven't tried anything from that version of the brand. This though really caught my attention, and when it first launched I definitely was like, sign me up, I don't care if I have to wait for it, because I really liked the color story. This group chat is this beautiful like pink to gold duochrome, which everybody knows is my kryptonite. I really like this Dofa shade here, which is like a blackened base with like burgundy shimmers all through it. You've got this iridescent blue in here that's really pretty, a blue purple in here which is really pretty. The mattes blend really nicely together. All in all, this is a phenomenal palette. I really enjoyed all the looks that I did using that palette, but nobody talks about the brand anymore because they don't exist anymore. Alright, and this is the palette that I actually think put the nail in the coffin for Lime Crime, because they were starting to like launch these little palettes, but then this one everybody hated. I personally really liked it. Like I love this palette. This has survived many a declutter, but I think it's not for everybody. I'll say that for sure. And definitely is super dark. Like you don't have a great gradient here. You have super dark and super light and not a whole lot in the middle. But I do think it's a beautiful palette. Lime Crime though, just people don't talk about them anymore. I feel like their stuff is always on sale, or you know, it's just not really like when you look at Ulta and you look at like the most popular palettes and stuff, Lime Crime is never on that list. Next up are my Lorac palettes, and I have the Pro Noir, which really like made me re-examine Lorac, because these palettes are beautiful. Sorry, that's the name sheet there. These palettes are super beautiful, and I love the metallic shades that they picked for this palette. And then the Mini Mystic Oak, good word, is just this like teeny tiny little 6-pan, but these, nobody talks about these. Nobody talks about these, but they are really nice palettes. So if you are somebody who likes mini palettes, if you like neutrals, if you like a lot of like dimension and sparkle, a lot of like metallic intensity in your shadows, I think you might actually like one of these, and they're less than 20 bucks, so it's a pretty decent deal. The only thing I hate is that the names are on a stupid piece of paper and not on the palette. Like I would have paid $1 more if I could have had them on the palette. That would have made me very happy. But they are magnetic, so you can move stuff around, so that's probably why they didn't do that. Then second to last here is the Morphe 35A Up Till Dawn Artistry palette, and this is, I think, after Morphe got bought out by like the brother and sister or whoever, Linda Morphe and I don't know, Fred Morphe, whatever, when they kind of sold the company to investors. And I feel like the shadow quality here is much better than some of the other palettes that I've tried in the past. And maybe it's the same, but to me it seems different. I really like these kind of minty light shades here. This really pretty pearly shade here. You've got some nice pops of bright pink, and then you've got a lot of shades that you can deepen up with in this palette, which I really appreciate. So I actually really like this palette despite the fact that it's a Morphe palette, and this palette being pretty decent has actually inspired me to try other things from Morphe, because I otherwise wouldn't try them because I just don't trust that they're going to be good quality. And then last on this list, I put ABH Norvina, and this is the, I think, volume 5 palette. Yeah, this number 5, the purple one. It's arguably my favorite. And it looks like this. It's a super pretty palette, but I feel like after Norvina put out 1, 2, 3 back to back, and then had 4 come out like a couple months later, and then 5 came out like a year later, the brand kind of fell off. Like I don't hear people talking about Norvina alone anymore. I just hear them talking about ABH off and on, although ABH has been in some hot water recently, so I don't really know about that. But this palette definitely makes the list because I feel like after this came out, nobody talks about this brand, but the actual quality of this palette is quite nice. Alright, and with that said, that is everything for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. What's a palette in your collection from a brand that kind of fell off? I'm very curious to see what you guys have floating around in your collections. I want to thank you again so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!